Evening, everyone, depending on where you are in the world. It's Tuesday today, and we are back for another Confidence Convo. We normally air on Wednesdays, but we're doing a special episode this week on Tuesday. So this is episode 17, and we are diving into the difference between arrogance and confidence. So before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Davina Maria, and I am a master coach and founder of the Restore Yourself Method and host of Worthy Women Facebook group. And I help female go-getters in their 30s develop unshakable confidence so they can powerfully step into their limitless potential. Over to you, Joanna.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Davina. My name is Joanna. I'm a registered psychotherapist and the founder of the Confidence Formula. I work with young adults to help them improve their confidence so that they can become successful. Davina and I got together to create this for you because we are obsessed with all things personal development and we strongly believe in the power of learning from one another.
And just to clarify, we are definitely not perfect at being confident all of the time. Like you, we move through our struggles and overcome obstacles and mindsets to continuously improve. So just think of us as guides by your side.
So this week, like Davina mentioned, we are going to be talking about the difference between confidence and arrogance. And this comes up very commonly in my sessions with clients when we're talking about how they can improve their confidence or they're wanting to improve their confidence. And what holds them back is this belief that if I become too confident, I'm going to appear arrogant. Or they see someone in their workplace who exudes a lot of confidence, but they don't really like that person, or they think that that person is really arrogant or full of themselves. And so it's like, I want to be confident, but they don't want to be arrogant. And so Davina and I wanted to kind of break this myth, this false belief that improving your confidence, becoming confident is actually going to lead to arrogance, when in fact that's not the case at all. So if Davina will, curious if she will, give us your definition of confidence and arrogance, like what they are individually and maybe a little bit how they're different.
So my definition of arrogance is very, very simple. I think arrogance basically comes from a belief that I'm better than you. And I think for me, that is what arrogance is. It's sort of someone who feels like they are above you in some way, or on a pedestal, if you like, or they maybe they've compared themselves to you and they've in their mind just gone, well, I'm better than you, I'm doing better than you, I'm, for whatever reason, I'm better than you. And we've spoken about confidence 17 times, but for me, confidence is the complete opposite. You're not better than anyone. You don't believe you're better than anyone. And I think confidence is internal, and it's about me, and it's about trusting myself and knowing that I'm okay regardless of what happens, regardless of who likes me, who doesn't like me. And I think, yeah, on some level, I think arrogance is also very outwardly focused, and maybe confidence is very kind of internal. And I think confidence always comes from a very stable place in terms of very healthy, very self-assured, and you definitely have a positive regard for everyone else. You have a level of respect, and you feel like people are your equals. We're all equal, but we're different, and we can respect those differences and remain confident regardless of, anything that you're doing or I'm doing. And I think arrogance kind of comes from, I know I said that, I feel like
Can you just repeat the last part again? I think the connection cut out. From we're all equals, I think was the
very
last
sorry
that we
about
heard.
that. Yeah, so I think with confidence, we are all equals. We're all on an equal footing. No one is on a pedestal. No one is above anyone else. And I think with arrogance, I know I say that it's sometimes arrogant people are very focused on the external rather than the internal. And I think sometimes that comes from insecurities, insecurities about ourselves can then kind of be masked in arrogance, and we can start overcompensating for things that we think we lack. And sometimes when we're arrogant, we don't necessarily have the positive regard for other people. I think we judge them on their behavior rather than kind of looking at the individual as a whole, complete person who maybe gets things right sometimes and gets things not so right other times. But ultimately, you're still a whole, complete person, and we can still have, like I said earlier, respect for for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think, what comes up for me when I hear, confidence and arrogance is also this idea of security and insecurity. So I think arrogance definitely stems from this place of being insecure, right? Kind of
Yeah.
needing to prove your worth or show that you're valuable or show that you're deserving, like again, to the external world. Whereas
Mm,
confidence comes from this secure place. Like I am confident, I'm secure, I'm self assured in myself, and I don't need to
yeah.
prove that externally or to anybody else. Maybe it will show up as confidence because you don't need to, boast or hog the spotlight or, crave attention in that kind of way.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you've touched on something really key there with, insecurity and security. I think sometimes as well, arrogant people do get a really bad reputation. And I think, when you consider it from that point, that perhaps they are a little bit insecure about something or some things, I think we can kind of extend a little bit of grace when we think
Mm-hmm.
about it that way, rather than kind of and I know, like you were saying at the beginning, your clients are worried they will become arrogant if they really go all out into confidence. And I think when we know someone who is arrogant, I think it's easy to kind of say, I don't want to be like that. But ultimately, we can always extend grace and say, do you know what? They might be insecure about something. And it's always a lesson to ourselves because, we all have insecurities and we could all kind of click over into arrogance, in certain situations or with certain people. So yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting.
I really love that, having compassion for people who are arrogant, because we too tend to judge them sometimes.
Yeah,
And I think this idea of like insecurities can be like, if you're feeling insecure, you might want to like hide, like kind of like hide in your turtle shell or like avoid
yeah.
at all costs. Or the exact opposite can be true, and you can be the one again that wants the spotlight, wants all the attention,
Mm,
craves the validation. So insecurities can come up in a whole bunch of different ways, arrogance being one of them.
yeah, totally, totally. Um, I absolutely love that. And I was thinking that for any listeners who maybe still don't really know what arrogance is and maybe they're still not 100% sure, I was hoping that we could give some examples of what it might kind of manifest
Mm-hmm.
as. So I don't know if you've got any that you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, I'll think specifically like in a workplace setting, because I guess
Hmm.
that's pretty relevant and relatable. But like I said, definitely hogging the spotlight, over participating in meetings, um, craving the validation, the recognition from superiors, colleagues, things like that. Kind of that feeling of being superior, right? Like always wanting to show that you're better or like prove that you have value and worth by like over
Yeah.
contributing. Another example could be like micromanaging from a manager, right? They don't trust
Mm,
that there's other ways to do this the right way. They want things done their way because they believe that that is the best way, right? Again, with that superiority piece. Um,
yeah.
People who are arrogant sometimes, I think you mentioned this before as well, make judgments, right? They judge other people don't know what they're doing. They believe that they know what's best and what's right. They might choose like not to collaborate in teamwork and group work because they just think that what they bring to the table is so much better than what anyone else has.
Mm,
Those are just a few examples of what I would classify as arrogance. What about you?
yeah. I have a few examples as well, but I wanted to just touch on something that you've just said because I think it's so important. You said something about arrogant people want to prove their value. And I think that is so key because when we talk about confidence, we talk about being confident in our self worth, confident in our value, we already know that we have worth, we already know that we have value. And, that means that we provide that value at the right time. We don't strive to prove that we're valuable. So I think that's a really interesting point. If you feel like you have to prove your value, perhaps that's a little example of, oh, am I kind of stepping into the kind of arrogant side here? Do I need to kind of take a step back and, do some little bit of internal work and figure out what's going on for me? But I think in terms of some of the examples that I had, and kind of staying with the workplace scenario that you were speaking about, people who talk down to colleagues, I think arrogant people can be quite condescending sometimes. And, I know you spoke about them feeling like they know the right way, they can do it better, and their way is the only way. I think that then can kind of feed into talking down to people because their ideas are suddenly just not good enough. We've already made the plan, we've decided, just do it. So I think that definitely comes across. I also feel like, we spoke about arrogant people being quite disrespectful at times, and I think that also can kind of manifest as interrupting people, not listening, not kind of being present with whatever's being spoken about, and just interrupting colleagues, speaking over them, and even kind of struggling to admit mistakes, never getting anything wrong, always being right, never apologizing, no accountability. It's always someone else's fault. I think those are the examples that I can think of. And the only other one I think of is I am thinking of one specific person, and I feel like they boast a lot. And I think this goes back to the point of proving that you have value. So they boast about everything they've done. They boast about their achievements. They boast about what they've done better than someone else, or just things like that. I think that's always kind of like a little telltale sign, I think.
Yeah. So I like dismissive, like dismissing other people, not really listening to other people, kind of
Yeah.
boasting, kind of tracking your achievements and accomplishments, which, in some way isn't a bad thing. Like I know inside the confidence formula that I show people how to track their successes and identify their strengths, and that can be a part of confidence, but it's like to what
Yeah,
extent? Like, do I need
exactly.
everybody to know everything that I'm good at all of the time? Am I always constantly seeking that validation and that approval, right? Oh, we're having connection issues. I hope everybody can still hear us.
I think we are having connection issues. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let's just go with it.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think the word that you said there, dismissive, that is the word. Oh, I think we've lost each other again.
Oh, I can't hear.
Are we back?
Having some connection issues, it looks like. Can you hear me?
I can definitely hear you.
Okay, let's try. Let's try again. Do you mind saying that from the beginning?
Yeah, I was just saying, can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah, it's a little bit choppy for me, but that might be my connection. So why don't you just go ahead and.
Okay, hopefully we're okay. But I was just saying, the word that you've just used there, dismissive, that is the word, isn't it? I think, when we're speaking about arrogance, that's one of the key words, I think.
Last part.
So I think we've lost each other again.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Oh, we're having one of those I can hear you, can you hear me moments. Do you want to say the last part
I
about
know.
dismissive again?
Yeah, I was just saying, I think that is the key word when we're talking about arrogance. I think that word kind of just sums everything up so nicely.
Yeah, dismissive, like superior, right? Like just like totally believing that your way is the way and the only way, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%,
What do you think
100%.
some things that people can do if they're working on their confidence and don't want to appear arrogant? What are some helpful strategies that you share with your clients?
So I think I have loads of helpful strategies. I think that they help over everything, not just with arrogance. What I would say is stay in a beginner's mindset. And I know we have an episode on beginner's mindset, or in a learning mindset, in a curious mindset. Um, Something I learned a few years ago is it's always better to be interested rather than interesting.
I
And
love
I
that.
think, that has stuck with me ever since I learned it, because I think that is amazing. If you're interested in everyone else, you're already in a learning place. You're curious, you're asking questions, you're open minded, and you're learning.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to be interesting, then you're trying to push yourself out onto other people and prove that you're amazing and you've done this and you've said this and you're so good at X, Y, and Z. So I think being interested always helps. Ask loads of questions, learn about other people, be open, and you know that is always a great place to start for me. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with being a good listener. I think it's very easy sometimes to be curious but then not hear the answer. So I think if you're curious and you're in your beginner's mindset and you're learning, actually be present and listen to what is then coming towards you, and really like pay attention to that. That always helps as well.
Yeah.
Um, I think self-reflection is always something that we can do. Um, you know, just sit with yourself, think about interactions you've had or conversations you've had and how you could have, maybe done a little bit better. And, just see where you can kind of be better than yourself every single day. And, we did speak about how sometimes arrogant people can be quite disrespectful. So I think the only other tip that I would offer is just paying attention to how you speak to others, and
Mm-hmm.
always having that positive regard, regardless of what someone else is like or what they've done. Just having that positive regard all the time and speaking from that place. And if for any reason you can't have positive regard, I think, take yourself away from the situation, self reflect, come back. So yeah, I think those are the tips that I would suggest for sure. How about you?
Yeah, I really like some of those, very like always having positive regard, self-reflection, listening to people instead of always being the one being interested instead of interesting. I really like that.
Yeah.
Something else that, could be mentioned is like being open to feedback, like not really
Mm,
dismissing feedback as something that you're, not good at, something that's wrong with you. It's just like this is an opportunity for you to grow,
yeah.
kind of being adaptable to that growth and the change. So if someone like a boss, a colleague, a manager at work asks you to do something or gives you some feedback, just like taking it in, taking what you can learn from it, and then like adapting it to your role, to your responsibilities. It's just an opportunity
Yeah.
to grow and not having that like shame piece come in. I
Mm,
think can be really helpful. Also, just generally having a growth mindset. I didn't speak about this too much, but kind of the idea that every opportunity, every problem is a challenge, an experience, an opportunity for you to grow. And if you
yeah.
have that outlook on life, then every experience can be one that you can learn from. And so it's a love of learning and excitement for life and the journey that you're on. And just having that as kind of the backbone of every experience in your life, in a professional setting or not, can be really helpful as well. So be curious, be interested, not interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I love your point about feedback as well, because I think sometimes we're so scared of feedback because we take it as criticism. And ultimately, if you're striving to be better than you were yesterday every single day, then feedback is one of the most helpful things ever, because it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of just like pointing you in the direction of, oh, maybe I need to kind of focus on this a bit more, or maybe I kind of dropped the ball on that, so maybe I need to kind of just go back and pick it up. So I think, I think that is a really good point. We can all improve. No one is at the well, there is no perfect, as we've also discussed in another episode. So if there is no perfect, that means we can all improve, and then that also means that feedback is super valuable. So I love that. I love that so much. I feel like we have come to the end of the episode, and I know that we can talk on this a lot more. But it's been so great chatting with you on this topic, and we will be back in October for more confidence combos. And for more information on who we are, what we do, and our love of all things confidence and self-development, you can find or follow us from our social media information, which is posted below in the comments. And if you like what you've heard, feel free to like, share, or subscribe. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you soon.
We will see you soon. Take care. Bye, everybody.